In a gripping turn of events, court evidence has sent shockwaves to Ynw Melly'S trial, prompting questions about the rapper's fate. As the trial unfolds, inconsistencies and uncertainties arise, leading to a breakdown in the case, with the spotlight on Ynw Borton's statements to the police and the mounting doubts surrounding the alleged drive-by shooting. The trial is at a critical juncture. Will this tumultuous revelation mark the end of Ynw Melly'S legal battle? The unfolding drama has everyone wondering what lies ahead in this high-stakes courtroom showdown. Back in October 2018, a chilling incident shook Ynw Melly and his crew to the core. They were simply hanging out at a recording studio enjoying their time together. Little did they know tragedy was lurking just around the corner. Shortly after leaving the studio, a heart-wrenching turn of events unfolded. Ynw Juvie and Ynw Sack Chaser were brutally gunned down and lost their lives. It was a total shock to everyone involved. Ynw Borton, left to face the aftermath, rushed their lifeless bodies to a nearby hospital. His explanation: they fell victim to a drive-by shooting in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. But, as they say, the truth has a way of coming to light. A grand jury indictment struck hard, slapping them with premeditated first-degree murder charges for Sack and Juvie. The situation spiraled into a serious legal mess that could not be ignored. Then on February 13th, 2019, the hammer of justice fell. They were apprehended and thrown into jail. Throughout the legal battle, Ynw Melly vehemently maintained his innocence, standing firm with a not guilty plea. Their journey towards justice began, shrouded in uncertainty in the pursuit of truth. After a long-awaited process, Ynw Melly'S trial is now in full swing. The state took a painstaking 5 years to construct their case, and now, with the fate of Melly hanging in the balance, they brought it to the courtroom. Jury selection proved to be a crucial step. The stakes are high, the prosecution seeking the death penalty, making it very clear they consider these crimes to be of utmost gravity. This is a gripping situation, as Melly stands accused of a brutal double homicide, and the state is relentless in their pursuit of portraying him as a heartless, cold-blooded criminal. On the other hand, the defense isn't backing down either, fiercely challenging the state's claims, scrutinizing all their evidence, and raising concerns about the investigation process altogether. Now, let's take a step back on that fateful night back in October of 2018. After Ynw Borton arrived at the hospital with lifeless bodies of Juvie and Sack in the car, he claimed it was a drive-by shooting. However, Borton's lack of injuries raised eyebrows, and there's more to the story too, including his cooperation with police. As the trial progresses, Borton faces his own charges, while Melly is potentially facing the death penalty under Florida's recently updated law, where an 8-4 vote in favor of capital punishment is now sufficient enough for sentencing the death penalty. We're here to judge sufficiency of their case. The courtroom drama all began with the prosecution's compelling opening statement delivered by Assistant State Attorney Christine Brab, who painted a very vivid picture of Melly as a heartless killer, presenting chilling details of that tragic night. When she heard it, doesn't say who she heard it from. Case closed. Yet Melly's defense, led by attorney David Howard, is determined not to yield. Howard aggressively questioned the credibility of the investigation, suggesting potential tunnel vision on the part of the detectives, who seemed pre-fixated on the fact that Melly is the sole perpetrator of this crime. Moreover, the defense raised doubts about the forensic evidence too, emphasizing that the absence of the murder weapon and challenging the reliability of gunshot residue tests. From day one, their strategy revolves around highlighting the circumstantial nature of the case, leaving no stone unturned to protect Melly's innocence. Surveillance footage became a crucial piece of evidence, revealing Melly, Ynw Borton, and the victims together in a car at the time of the alleged incident. Bone data, blood spatter analysis, and a bullet casing were found in the vehicle, add weight to the prosecution's narrative. However, a little twist emerged when audio recordings of Ynw Borton's statements to a detective contradict the supposed drive-by account. The detective refutes the validity of the location described, raising serious doubts about the entire story altogether. Crime scene investigators took to the stand, and they discussed the meticulous search of the car used in the alleged drive-by sit-up. Then the defense started challenging the evidence collection altogether, questioning the visibility of fingerprints and the lack of DNA testing on all the items. An unsettling revelation came to light as one investigator mishandled some evidence, potentially compromising the integrity of all the findings they got. Surrounding the lingering questions, the absence of the murder weapon raised further doubt, and the defense seized on on this opportunity to present a composed front, knowing full well that the lack of concrete evidence could be in their favor.
I'm going to talk a little bit about your deposition.
Yes.
Do you recall you've been provided a copy?
And yet another layer of complexity, Felicia Holmes, a nurse, found herself entangled into the case as her daughter, Mariah Hamilton, had been dating Ynw Melly at the time of the tragic events. The defense endeavored to twist her statements up, alleging that she lied to the authorities, but their plea for a mistrial was ultimately rejected. In the second week of the trial, we witnessed a roller coaster of defense with drama and tension swirling around. Allegations of prosecutorial misconduct and emerging evidence added to the intensity of the proceedings, making it a very captivating journey for all involved.
Very accurate. And we talked about that earlier yesterday. It's like a real life foundation for it. Like, yes, I've done historic cell site analysis.
One significant focus has been on the cell phone evidence, a crucial aspect in modern trials these days. FBI agent Brendan Collins stepped in, presenting his analysis of 2 phones linked to Melly and one of the victims. The prosecution asserted that the data retrieved from these phones places Melly in close proximity to the victims just before their tragic demise. Yet, the defense had a different take on that. They raised questions about the accuracy of the location data and even cast doubt on whether Melly was the sole user of the phone in question. Furthermore, DNA analysis became a key point of discussion too. Prosecution introduced DNA evidence suggesting Melly's presence inside the car during the shootings. However, the defense skillfully pointed out that Melly's DNA didn't match other elements examined, thereby challenging the notion of his direct involvement in the crime. Another angle the prosecution pursued was establishing a motive for the killings, linking Melly to the G-Shine Bloods gang. They presented social media posts, videos, and references to the gang in Melly's songs, seeking to establish a connection. Nevertheless, the defense questioned the authenticity of this gang image, pondering whether it was genuine or merely an online persona. Clearly, the prosecution's resolute in their pursuit of proving Melly's guilt beyond any reasonable doubt, even pressing for a conviction that may carry the weight of the death penalty. Conversely, the defense is fiercely challenging the evidence presented, raising doubts about Melly's alleged involvement in the crime. During the trial's third week, a meticulous analyst took to the stand, becoming the sole witness to reveal a revelation that shattered the belief in a drive-by shooting. This expert went to extraordinary lengths, reconstructing the whole sequence of events, and what emerged was a revelation of a far more intimate and personal encounter. During Ynw Julie's postpartum checkup, a fascinating discovery emerged, an injury on the left side of his cheek with stipple indicating tiny gunshot residue marks. An adept shooting expert stepped forward to elucidate how investigators meticulously traced the origin and trajectory of the shots, employing forensic methods akin to scenes from crime drones. As the pieces fell into place, it became evident that these shots didn't emanate from a passing vehicle. Rather, they were fired from the back seat of the driver's side, adding yet another layer of intrigue to this perplexing puzzle. Now the crucial question arises: how much time's been left between the fatal shots and the meticulously planned cover-up? This time gap gains immense significance as it allowed the victim's heart to stop beating and their blood circulation to cease. The evidence presented during the trial cast doubt on the authenticity of the firearms allegedly used in the crime. What heightens the mystery further is the shooting expert's astonishment. Get this, throughout his illustrious career, he's confessed to never encountering a scene quite like this one. The trial's been transformed into a real-life detective story, unfolding with gripping intrigue within the confines of the courtroom.
That's good with everybody.
So far?
Returning to the perplexing case of the Wyatt W. Borland and his conversation with police, we delve deeper into the intricate web of statements and suspicions.
I think I know what happened because I got information that something else happened on the east side of the city in Pembroke Parks, but, which sounds similar to your thing. But you need to tell it. You need to be straight up with us.
In the newly obtained recording, Borland recounts the harrowing events of that fateful night, claiming he and Melly were victims of a drive-by shooting after leaving the studio. However, investigators discovered inconsistencies in their narratives, raising doubts about the honesty of their accounts. Throughout the conversation, Borland's nervousness is quite evident, and the police show skepticism towards his statements. They question the location of the alleged shooting and press him for accurate information. As the dialogue unfolds, the police delve into possible motives and conflicts, seeking names and clarity, but Borland's responses remain evasive and very vague. He mentions social media drama and enmities and all that other stuff, but refrains from providing explicit answers. The cops even expressed surprise at Portland's claim of not having a cell phone, given the prevalence of such devices in today's world. His reluctance to cooperate and the inconsistencies in his story leave the investigators frustrated. Propelled to dig a little deep throughout the conversation, the police scratched their primary aim of solving the murder of Portland's friends, emphasizing that other legal issues are secondary. They implore him to be honest with them. Portland continues to evade those questions, making their task that much more challenging. The recording paints a picture of a complicated and questionable situation. Portland's elusive behavior and ambiguous statements have raised suspicions and cast doubt on the truth. The police are committed to untangling this complex mystery, but with the trial ahead, the truth remains shrouded in uncertainty.
On the case said they found no evidence of a drive-by where Melly claimed it had gone down.
In the most recent courtroom developments, focus shifted to the critical discussion surrounding the phones and their locations during the shooting. Detective Mark Moretti took center stage, meticulously dissecting the case. Prosecution aimed to establish a connection between Melly and the car where the crime purportedly took place, leveraging new information. However, the accuracy of phone tower records came into question, casting some doubt on the precise location of Melly at the time he allegedly used the phone in question. The defense seized this opportunity, relentlessly challenging the data's credibility as part of their strategy. During their trial, Detective Moretti revealed the locations of the phones belonging to Melly and his associates. The proximity of the phones to shell casings and other key evidence was analyzed. Call detail records, CDRs, played a crucial role in the narrative. Things escalated as Fredo Bang's involvement emerged in this discussion. Its connection between Melly and Fredo right before and after the murders raised a lot of eyebrows. Testimony from Sax producer Glass added depth to this unfolding story. The prosecution went even further when they introduced a Western Union receipt linking Melly to the phone in question. Yet the proceedings became complex as multiple phone data points were delved into, leaving the jury at times struggling to grasp their direct relevance. The main points presented by the prosecution. Ynw Sack Chasers producer Trayvon Glass divulged interesting details from the studio surveillance tapes. A vivid image emerged of Ynw Melly, fellow rapper Fredo Bang, and a number of other people hopping into a Jeep Compass and a red Mitsubishi. The prosecution was eager to have Fredo testify, but he staunchly refused to show up under any circumstances, leaving everyone very curious about his reasons why. After the studio session, Glass and his crew accompanied Melly to his residence and then visited Fredo's crib to mourn the loss of their friends. However, Glass noticed a puzzling twist. Melly had changed his clothes since the recording session earlier that night. The implications were striking, sparking suspicion, but when pressed for more information about what happened at Fredo's, Glass remained tight-lipped, skillfully avoiding divulging any pertinent details. He artfully cited overwhelming grief as the reason for his reticence. However, he did confirm one thing that the prosecutor launched onto. It was the fact that Glass remembered that Melly changed clothes from the moment that they left the studio to the moment when they met each other again.
Yeah.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new day. Nah, he wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't. You guys
He wasn't
specified.
wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
And
A lingering question haunted the corporal. Why did both Melly and Portland change their clothes and spend nearly 40 minutes just cruising around instead of rushing to the hospital to check on their injured homies? Innocent individuals, it's argued, would never behave in such a manner. The situation seemed to be veering towards a game of hide and seek with the truth, leaving a trail of uncertainty and doubt. The mystery surrounding their actions continued to perplex, unveiling a labyrinth of enigmatic motives in this high-stakes trial. Beyond Fredo's intriguing texts, the extended communication between Melly and others is quite staggering. There were so many messages presented in front of court, and the evidence really changed the whole narrative of Melly's trial. To be honest, prosecution's mission here seemed pretty clear. Present the jury how all the dots are connected to one another and unravel the truth. Amidst this whole legal showdown, deep-rooted family drama is adding a fiery layer to the narrative. We got to see a real side of Melly and his mother's turbulent relationship, and we also saw Juby's sister add fuel to the fire with her threats, prompting a bodyguard to enter the picture. The messages were cryptic, leaving us to question whether Melly indeed committed the unthinkable. At one point of the conversation between Melly and his own ma, you could hear Melly say stuff such as, "But you gave me the cold shoulder 'cause I couldn't find a blazer." Even though it's not entirely clear whether these messages were intended intended to Melly's mom or his ex-girlfriend, it's pretty clear that he let one go, and that's not a good look, regardless of who the message was intended for. To make things look even worse, he said that he's evil, that he's a monster who needs to be alone, and that everyone should go F themselves. That's not something you want to see in front of the jury. They do not forget critical moments like that. As the trial progressed, we learned other conflicts as well, such as the case with the Ynw Collective, which fueled Melly's frustration over his uncredited creative input. Yet, it's the exchanges between Melly and Sack Chaser that hold a potential key to the motive behind these killings. A glimpse into Melly's mind reveals his thirst for recognition and payment for his artistic genius. However, an enigmatic phi sparks intrigue, possibly denoting a weapon. While the messages don't directly establish Melly's possession of it, they serve as a crucial piece of this puzzle. Messages that were presented in court paint a scary and unsolved picture about what was going on in the dynamics between Melly, Sack Chaser, and others. At the heart of the matter, Sack and Juvie and Melly, they find themselves entangled in a power struggle, with Sack and Juvie asserting their roles as CEOs of Ynw, while Melly shines as the face of the brand. This clash of egos and visions into underlying animosity. Moreover, money became a contentious issue, driving a wedge between Melly and Sack. Disputes about financial matters became quite apparent once you go through all these texts, casting shadows over their once close relationship. Problems in the creative sphere also became apparent too. Melly seemingly did not fully support Sack's artistic endeavors. In fact, Sack claimed to have played a significant role in shaping Melly's sound, further fanning the flames of discord between the two of them. Sack felt overshadowed by Melly's success, despite being one of the founding members of Ynw, and he also felt this peculiar premonition, expressing apprehension about the future, suggesting that something might go bad. The puzzle becomes even more confounding when, on August 30th, 2018, Melly cryptically grants Sack the green light to, quote, her with a resigned, it is what it is mindset, alluding to a soul-selling deal that raises eyebrows and leaves many perplexed. Amidst these revelations, we find ourselves asking, what was really going on, man? After all the messages were presented in the courtroom, one comes to a conclusion that they themselves had trouble understanding themselves, and the issue that they had with each other were not clear and obvious. But there was definitely bad blood between the Ynw members. Lastly, despite the defense's call for a mistrial based on these messages, the judge denied their motions, maintaining that they bear no direct relevance to the case.
Okay, motion to
Just briefly address the juror issue.
The prosecutor attempted to tie these messages to incriminating evidence, but some remained skeptical. Nonetheless, actions and intentions seep through the digital exchanges, painting a vivid picture of what transpired behind the scenes. Amidst all the uncertainty, the messages play a pivotal role in the trial, potentially reshaping the seemingly motiveless case into something much, much bigger. Recent revelations from Melly's manager further fuel the intrigue, shed light on a drama that refuses to fade into the shadow. In the midst of the swirling controversy surrounding Ynw Melly, a crucial voice emerges from the shadows. Jameson Francois, known as 100K Track, Melly's manager, steps into the spotlight to share his perspective in the matter. With conviction in his tone, 100K Track asserted that they have made a grave mistake in accusing Melly of murder. He staunchly believes that the rapper is 100% innocent, and he's armed with insider knowledge that bolsters his unwavering beliefs too. As the plot thickens, the manager took the stage, seemingly challenging the prevailing narrative. However, even Track himself grapples with the uncertainty of that fateful night. He struggles to recollect whether they were at Melly's or Fredo's house after the tragic incident involving Sack and Juve. In this labyrinthine case, Track's revelations add another layer of complexity to the unfolding events. His proclamation resounds throughout the courtroom, leaving us wondering if there is more to the story than meets the eye. As the trial presses on, the truth remains elusive. The manager's assertions leave us with lingering questions about the enigmatic tale of Ynw Melly or Fredo's house. Track's poorly phrased recollection of the events does give a sense of suspicion. One would expect vivid memories during a time of disbelief and grief, but uncertainty hangs over the story. On the very next day, despite the weight of the previous night's events, Melly found himself entangled in commitments for a music video shoot. Determined to fulfill his obligations, he musters the strength to appear at the shoot. Relationship between grief and professional responsibilities casted a weird feeling over the trial. As the interview with Track went on, he said something more about the fact that Melly could finish without making a music video, even though he was grieving over two dead brothers. Manager said,
was done way prior before the incident. Those, deposits was paid and it was either A, refund back the money and funds and things like that, or, B, do what he got to do and just man up and do it. And he was able to pull himself together and get it done. But the whole day, man, it was a very like sad day. Like you could tell the atmosphere was down. You know, his energy was down. He was trying to pick himself back up, trying to, you know, block it and just be professional and do what he got to do. But you could tell he was hurting really bad. So he was really devastated.
The manager's assertion about Melly's professionalism during a video shoot raises some eyebrows, especially considering a past incident where Melly missed a show for a mere haircut. Complexities of human behavior come into play here, leaving us to wonder about the true nature of Melly's actions and decisions. The manager also addressed the intriguing possibility of Melly being a target of assault. It's possible that someone wanted him removed from the picture. In the cutthroat world of the music industry, such threats are not very uncommon, let's be honest here, with even the manager acknowledging that he himself has faced similar challenges in the past. The revelation leaves us contemplating the darker side of Bay, the potential dangers that lurk in the shadow.
So this was a drive-by.
When you in the limelight and you're making money and things like that, you're going to receive hate. You're going to receive, you know, death threats. You're going to receive things from everywhere, from people you know, people you don't know, people who probably feel obligated or feel, you know what I'm saying, entitled to things, people who might not even know you from the campaign and just don't like you. So, you know, as an entertainer, your life is always, your life is always being threatened by somebody else.
Throughout the proceedings, we've been taken on a roller coaster ride of emotions as the prosecution seeks to paint Melly as a cold-blooded killer, while the defense fights tooth and nail to dismantle the state's case. The relevant evidence presented in court has been a labyrinth of phone records, text messages, and surveillance tape. Each piece of info adds another layer of complexity to the case. From heated disputes among rappers to family drama and allegations of threats, the story behind the murders of Ynw Juvie and Ynw Sack Chaser remains shrouded in mystery. The prosecution's meticulous reconstruction of events and the defense's relentless questioning have kept us on the edge of our seats. And yet, amidst all this chaos, question lingers: is Melly truly guilty of these crimes? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye? Melly's fate hangs in the balance, and the jurors hold the power to determine his future. One thing is certain here, folks: the consequences of this verdict will inevitably change the music industry forever.